The Viking invasion of Dublin was a brutal and transformative event in Irish history. But the violence didn't end with the initial conquest. The establishment of a Viking stronghold in Dublin led to a dramatic increase in raiding and warfare across the island, fueling a slave trade that would have devastating consequences for the Irish people. The Vikings, with their superior weaponry and ruthless tactics, were a formidable force. They launched lightning raids on monasteries, settlements, and even royal centers, leaving a trail of destruction and despair in their wake. Their primary objective was plunder, gold, silver, and other valuables, but they also sought another valuable commodity: slaves. The Annals of Ulster, a chronicle of medieval Irish history, paint a grim picture of the Viking raids. They write, 845 AD, the heathens still in Dublin, a great slaughter of the Irish by the foreigners throughout all Ireland this year. These terse entries reveal the frequency and brutality of the Viking attacks. Duncad O'Corraine, in his seminal work Ireland and the Vikings, explains the impact of these raids. He writes, "The Viking raids were a traumatic experience for the Irish. They shattered the relative peace and prosperity of the early Christian period, leaving a legacy of fear and instability. The Vikings showed no mercy in their pursuit of slaves. Men, women, and children were captured, torn from their homes and families, and forced into a life of servitude. The sagas and chronicles are filled with accounts of these raids, detailing the suffering and despair of the enslaved. The Kogad Kadel Rekalaib, a 12th century Irish account of the Viking Wars, describes the capture and enslavement of the Irish. It says, "They carried off a great number of captives, both men and women, and brought them to Dublin to be sold as slaves." In the book The Viking Diaspora, James Graham Campbell writes, "The slave trade was an integral part of the Viking economy. Slaves were not only a source of labor, but also a valuable commodity that could be traded for other goods." Dublin's slave market became a hub of human trafficking, connecting the city to a vast network of trade routes that stretched across Europe and beyond. Slaves from Ireland were sold to Viking settlers in Dublin, to Irish elites, and even to traders from Scandinavia, Britain, and the continent.